Emma's mornings always started the same way. The chill of dawn, the sound of buses, and the faint hope that today, maybe, someone would actually buy her flowers. Her fingers were red from the cold, the petals soft against her skin. Selling roses wasn't her dream, but dreams didn't pay rent. Not when your mother was sick and the bills piled up faster than prayers could be answered. That morning, the rain had just stopped, leaving the city wrapped in silver mist. She was arranging her flowers when she saw him again, the soldier from last week, the one with eyes that looked like they'd seen too much. He stood a few meters away, watching her, not in a strange way, but as if he was trying to remember something. "Back again, soldier?" she asked with a shy smile. He nodded. "Your flowers survive the rain better than I do." She laughed softly. He wasn't like the other men in uniform who passed through, loud, proud, and careless. This one carried silence like it was part of his armor. His name was Daniel, she learned. He was stationed nearby for a few months. Every morning after that, he'd buy a flower, always one, never a bouquet, and tuck it carefully into his jacket pocket before disappearing into the fog. Emma started to look forward to those brief moments. The way he smiled without showing his teeth. The way his voice dropped whenever he asked, "How's your mother today?" It was small talk, but it felt like care. One afternoon, as the buses roared and the world rushed by, Daniel didn't come. Hours passed, the crowd thinned, and the sun began to set. She packed her unsold flowers, disappointment heavy in her chest. Just as she turned to leave, a voice came from behind her. "Miss me?" She spun around. He stood there, drenched from head to toe, uniform soaked, a faint bruise on his jaw. He smiled like nothing hurt. "What happened to you?" she asked. "Training accident," he said quickly, too quickly. She frowned. His eyes avoided hers. He looked tired, pale. "Sit," she said, pulling out a wooden crate. "You look like you haven't eaten." He hesitated, then sat. She handed him half of her sandwich. He looked at it like it was the kindest thing anyone had done for him in years. "Thank you," he murmured. For the first time, Emma saw it, beneath the uniform, beneath the calm. A man carrying a storm he couldn't talk about. And she didn't know it yet, but that secret was already starting to bleed through his silence. Days turned into weeks, and soon Daniel became part of Emma's routine, or maybe she became part of his. Every morning he'd stop by, sometimes with a smile, sometimes lost in thought. He never said much about himself. When she asked where he was from, he'd look away and say, "Everywhere and nowhere." Still, something about him felt safe, solid, like the world could crumble and he'd still be standing there, steady as stone. One evening, Emma decided to close early. The cold was unbearable, and her thin coat did little to help. She gathered the last of her roses and started walking home when she saw him again, sitting on the curb across the street, his elbows on his knees, staring at the ground. "Daniel," she called out. He looked up, startled, as if waking from a nightmare. She crossed the street and saw the paper in his hand, folded, burned at the edges. "What's that?" "Nothing," he said, trying to hide it. She reached out before she could stop herself and gently pulled it from his hand. The corner was scorched, but she could still read the words. "To the family of Sergeant Daniel Reyes." Her heart dropped. "Daniel, what is this?" He didn't answer. His jaw tightened. "It's nothing for you to worry about. You wrote a letter to your own family, as if you're already gone." He stood up suddenly, his voice sharper now. "I said it's nothing." Emma took a step back, but she didn't leave. "You can lie to the army, but not to me," she said quietly. "You're scared. I see it." The tension broke. Daniel exhaled and sat back down, face buried in his hands. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." He hesitated, then looked up, eyes red, raw. "I got called for an assignment," he said. "It's classified, but it's dangerous. More than usual. I'm not supposed to tell anyone. But if something happens, they'll send that letter to my mother. I was going to burn it so she'd never have to read it." The world went quiet. Only the sound of rain against the pavement filled the space between them. Emma knelt beside him. "You can't burn hope, Daniel." He laughed bitterly. "Hope doesn't survive war." She touched his arm gently. "Then maybe it survives in people." He looked at her, and for a moment, the soldier's mask slipped. He wasn't a uniform or a rank. just a man terrified of what tomorrow might bring. Promise me something, he whispered. If I don't come back. Don't, she interrupted, shaking her head. Don't say that. Promise me, he insisted. If I don't come back, you'll keep living. You'll take care of your mother. You'll forget me. Tears welled in her eyes. That's the one thing I can't promise. He smiled, that broken, beautiful smile she'd come to know. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled rose. The same one she'd given him the first day. I keep it to remind me there's still something worth surviving for, he said. That night, when Daniel walked away into the mist, Emma didn't know if she'd ever see him again. But deep down, she felt it. Something was coming. Something that would shatter everything she thought she knew about him. 3 days passed. No roses bought. No quiet smile across the street. Daniel had vanished. Emma tried to convince herself he was just busy, that soldiers had unpredictable schedules. But the ache in her chest told another story. Every time she saw a man in uniform, her heart jumped, only to crash when it wasn't him. By the 5th day, she couldn't take it anymore. She walked to the base gates just before sunset. The guard stared at her like she didn't belong, a poor girl clutching a basket of wilting flowers. I'm looking for Sergeant Daniel Reyes, she said softly. The older guard frowned. Ma'am, no civilians past this point. Please, I just need to know if he's okay. The younger guard hesitated, then said quietly, Reyes was deployed 2 nights ago. Emergency transfer. Classified mission. Her throat tightened. Where? He looked away. I can't tell you that. Emma's voice broke. He didn't even say goodbye. The guard's eyes softened. Most of them don't get the chance. She turned away, clutching her basket like it could hold her together. The world around her blurred. Rain started to fall, again, as if the sky itself mourned with her. That night, Emma sat by the window, staring at the street where Daniel used to walk by. His words replayed in her mind. If I don't come back, promise me you'll keep living. She pressed her hand to her heart. You better come back, she whispered. Weeks passed. Life dragged on. The buses kept roaring, the flowers kept wilting, and her mother's cough kept getting worse. Still, Emma waited. Every sunrise carried the same question. Would today be the day he returns? Then, one morning, she found something strange. A folded letter slipped under her flower stand. No name, no sender, just her name written in careful handwriting. Emma. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Emma, if you're reading this, it means I didn't keep my promise. But I need you to keep yours. There's a box buried under the old oak tree behind St. Mary's Chapel. Please find it. Inside, you'll understand everything. Daniel. Her vision blurred as tears filled her eyes. She didn't wait a second. She ran through the rain, mud splashing at her feet, until she reached the chapel. The old oak stood there, ancient and silent. She dropped to her knees and started digging with her bare hands. The dirt was cold, her fingers raw, but she didn't stop. Finally, she hit something solid, a small metal box. Inside was a photo, Daniel, smiling in uniform, arm around a little girl no older than 7. And beneath it, a folded piece of paper. Her name is Anna. She's my daughter. Her mother died 2 years ago. The army doesn't know she exists. If they did, she'd end up in the system if something happens to me. Emma, I trust you more than anyone. If I don't return, please find her. Protect her. Tell her father loved her more than his own life. Emma pressed the photo to her chest. A daughter, oh my God. She looked up at the storming sky. Daniel, what did you do? For days, she couldn't think, couldn't sleep. All she could see was that little girl's face. Finally, she made a choice. If Daniel trusted her, she couldn't let him down. She packed what little she had, locked up her flower stand, and boarded the first bus to the address written on the back of the photo. The road was long, the rain relentless, but she didn't stop, because deep down, she refused to believe Daniel was gone. And if there was even a chance, even the smallest hope, she'd find his daughter, and maybe, somehow, find him too. The small town where the address led her was quiet, too quiet. Rows of faded houses, broken fences, and laundry lines swaying like tired flags in the wind. Emma stepped off the bus, her heart pounding with every step. She checked the crumpled photo again. On the back, Daniel had written, "Anna lives with her grandmother, Rosa, 42 Willow Street." When she reached the house, it looked forgotten by time. Peeling paint, creaking porch, one shutter hanging loose. She hesitated, then knocked. After a long pause, an old woman opened the door just enough to see her. "Yes." Emma clutched the photo. "I'm looking for Anna. Are you Rosa?" The woman's eyes narrowed. "Who's asking?" "I'm a friend of Daniel's." Rosa froze. The name hit her like thunder. "Daniel Reyes?" "Yes," Emma whispered. The woman's grip on the door loosened, and she opened it wider. "Come in." Inside, the house smelled of lavender and old wood. On the wall were pictures, Daniel in uniform, a younger version of him smiling beside a woman with kind eyes. And in the middle of the living room, on a worn couch, sat a little girl with messy brown hair, drawing with crayons. "Anna," Rosa said softly, "someone's here to see you." The girl looked up, her eyes so much like Daniel's that Emma felt her breath catch. "Hi," Anna said shyly. Emma knelt down, smiling through the ache in her chest. "Hi, sweetheart." Anna tilted her head. "You know my daddy?" Emma nodded, her throat tight. "I do." "Where is he?" The question shattered her. She forced a smile. "He's far away, but he wanted me to make sure you were okay." Anna's smile faltered. "He promised he'd come back." Emma looked at Rosa, and for a moment, neither spoke. Then Rosa sighed and gestured toward the kitchen. "We need to talk." In the kitchen, over 2 chipped cups of coffee, Rosa spoke. "The army came 3 weeks ago. They said Daniel's unit went missing. No bodies. Just gone." Emma's heart clenched. "So he might still be alive?" Rosa shrugged, tears glinting in her tired eyes. "That's what I keep telling Anna. But the world doesn't wait for miracles, dear." Emma reached across the table and took her hand. "Then we'll wait together." That night, Emma stayed. She couldn't bring herself to leave. Anna wouldn't let go of her hand, even when she fell asleep. There was something about that child, the way she laughed, the way she looked at Emma like she already knew her. The next morning, Rosa found Emma in the kitchen making breakfast. "You don't have to do that," the old woman said. "I know," Emma smiled, "but it feels nice to do something for once that isn't just surviving." Days turned into a quiet routine. Emma helped around the house, fixed things, read stories to Anna. At night, she'd sit by the window, staring at the empty road, praying for headlights that never came. Then one evening, a knock on the door. Rosa frowned. "At this hour?" Emma opened the door and froze. 2 men stood there, wearing black suits, badges shining under the porch light. One held a small box wrapped in the Army's emblem. "Are you family of Sergeant Daniel Reyes?" Rosa's voice cracked. "I'm his mother." The man nodded solemnly. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. His unit was confirmed lost in action. They recovered some personal effects." He handed her the box. Rosa's knees buckled. Emma caught her before she fell. Anna came running, confused. "Grandma, what's wrong?" Emma held her close. "It's okay, baby. It's okay." But it wasn't. When Rosa opened the box, inside was Daniel's dog tag, his watch, and a folded photo. Emma and him at her flower stand, smiling under the rain. She didn't even know he'd taken it. Her tears fell silently onto the metal tag. "You promised," she whispered. For Anna's sake, they buried the box in the garden, beneath the same tree where the little girl liked to draw. That night, when everyone was asleep, Emma went outside and sat by the grave. "You liar," she whispered into the wind. "You said you'd come back." But then she smiled through the tears. "You kept your real promise, didn't you? You made sure I wasn't alone." A light breeze brushed her face, gentle, warm, almost like a touch. And for the first time since he left, Emma felt it. Not absence, but presence. Like Daniel was right there, whispering through the night. "I never left, Emma. I never left." 6 months later, spring painted the small town with colors Daniel would have loved. The oak tree in the garden bloomed again, its branches heavy with new life. Emma still lived with Rosa and Anna. She couldn't bring herself to leave, not after everything they'd lost and found. Life wasn't easy, but it was peaceful. Anna had started school, her laughter filling the house like sunlight. Rosa's health was fragile, but her spirit stronger than ever. And Emma, she'd begun selling flowers again, not at the station this time, but in front of the church where she first found Daniel's letter. People came from all over the town for her roses. They said they lasted longer, smelled sweeter. She always smiled when they said that. "They're grown with memories," she'd reply softly. One evening, as she was closing her stall, a soldier in uniform approached. Young, nervous, carrying a small envelope. "Are you Emma?" he asked. She froze. "Yes." He handed her the envelope. This was found among recovered files from Sergeant Reyes's unit. "It was meant for you." Her heart nearly stopped. "Thank you," she whispered, her fingers trembling as she tore it open. Inside, a single page. His handwriting. "Emma, if this ever reaches you, it means I couldn't keep my promise. Not the way I wanted to. But know this. Meeting you is the only part of my life that ever felt real. You taught me that love doesn't need a future to be true. If I never return, find Anna. Tell her that her father wasn't a hero, just a man who finally found a reason to fight for something good. And Emma, if you ever see another rose bloom after the storm, that's me, reminding you that love never really dies. Daniel." The paper blurred as tears rolled down her cheeks. Anna came running from the house, holding a small rosebud she'd picked from the garden. "Look, Miss Emma, it's the first one of the season." Emma took the flower gently, smiling through her tears. "He kept his promise," she whispered. That night, under the starlit sky, she placed Daniel's letter beside the oak and whispered, "You were wrong, soldier. Hope does survive war." The wind rustled through the branches, scattering rose petals around her feet like a quiet blessing. And in that moment, Emma realized, love doesn't always end in goodbye. Sometimes it just changes form and keeps blooming quietly forever.